This game. Variable 2 to 4. Showers at first. Good.
Free car park, etc., etc. And there were young girls and men in this country that wanted to be nurses, and it was all good. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, someone somewhere in government made this decision to stop all that. And now what do? We go across to India and places like that, and we take their nurses away and we bring them over here. So, and it has a big knock on innovation. And also, if you look at hospitality
we obviously appreciate these people coming over to plug the gaps there, don't we? I mean, it's amazing that people come over and are able to do it, but I do take your point that you do want to also train lots of doctors and nurses in the UK.
Yeah, it's homegrown people that we've been lacking over the years, because there's just been this massive drive to uni. When you get on the tubes in the morning in London and you see all the construction workers and all the tradesmen and the chippies and the like, the majority of them are foreign workers. And fair play to them, they come here, they come to work, and they come to help us. But it's because we've dumbed down ourselves on all those trades and all the things that keep the country ticking along, because we've just gone uni. Like no apprenticeships, or very minimal apprenticeships, and I just think we just need to have a real look at what we're doing in this country, and I think we'd be in a much better position for it.
With your 3 children, did they all, I mean, I know you said they found it difficult getting jobs. Did they all sort of have a good experience? Did they all say to you, Dad, it was amazing being able to do X, Y, and Z, or what was their experience like of uni?
Oh yeah, they all had a great time. One of them maybe not so much, because he was a bit more of a loner. He would have rather stayed in halls, but he had to go and share with people. So, but the other 2 absolutely loved it. Made great friends along the way, and they're still friends with their uni mates, and it was great.
And do you think it helped them get a job? I know you said the networking is also important, but actually having that degree.
Oh yeah, it definitely did, because they had top degrees and they won prizes at uni and everything.
Wow.
But the thing that saddened me with one of them was he had all that and he came away thinking this is great, and then he started applying and it was knockback after knockback, and most of it was, we think you're great, but you haven't got any experience, or we're looking for someone with a bit more experience. And you think, how the hell do these kids get the experience without being given a chance in the first place? But anyway, he carried on, and then, lo and behold, he got his job, and he was off to a flyer. And he's had a few setbacks, like in the interim, but he's got a great job now, and it's all happy days. But the thing that really upset me was he did so well, and that was in the journalism degree, and yet it was still like a struggle getting the job and getting the opportunities, and that did involve a bit of networking at the end of the day.
Is he a journalist now, did you say?
Yeah, he's a journalist now, yeah. So
what is he in broadcast, or what? Don't tell me exactly what he does. Social media.
And he's doing very well, but it upset me, because he worked very hard, and then he got knocked back after knockback and felt very down at one point. But it's all worked out for the best now. But I just feel that it's not for everyone, and there are plenty of other jobs out there. But I just think that we need to have a real rethink in this country about how we go about all youngsters acquiring jobs in the future. And it's not all about uni's good for some people, but it's not good for everyone. And I think that the steer over the years has just been, it's good for everyone, and you go to uni and you're guaranteed a job, and you're not. And some of these kids come away sad with that, and I'm quite depressed about the workplace afterwards as well.
Yeah, I think you made some good points there, Steve. Thank you very much for the call. Steve there in Chelmsford, who I think that we do need to have a conversation about the sort of future employment prospects, because it does seem mad that you have to sort of get work experience at a place where you where you often have to sort of live in London, I appreciate, for certain professions, and then you sort of are then told you don't have the experience, you can't get the work experience because you're not being paid and it's an unpaid placement, and then you have to network, and should that really be how you get a job? It does seem slightly wrong the way it works now. I'm going to come to you in just a moment in Kingsbury. Also, Josh, I'll speak to you in a minute, just because I don't want to rush you when we're approaching the news. Jill says, morning, Henry. You said, I think tongue-in-cheek, you don't need a degree to work at LBC, but I beg to differ. I think you not only need a degree, you need to have attended public school. How many presenters attended a state school and or do not have a degree? Well, I didn't attend. I didn't attend public school, so I attended a state school. I genuinely don't know. I know some LBC presenters talk about private school and talk about it openly who went, but I went to a state school, and I do have a degree. But I was talking more about the sort of wider team that I work with, as in sort of producers and reporters, but I actually don't know which. I think there are quite a few presenters who don't have a degree. There are some that I think, but I'm not going to say it out loud because I need to check first. This from Wendy says, I taught on a journalism degree course. It's a complete waste of time because the students never learn the basics, such as shorthand, so they can't be sent to do court reporting. I never did a journalism degree. My girlfriend did a not a degree, or qualification afterwards, and she can do shorthand, and I'm always quite jealous because it's a really sort of cool skill to learn. I'm not sure how useful it really is. I mean, if you're court reporting, then yeah, it is. But this from Kathy says, my daughter went to university, graduated with a 2-1 in English Lit, and ended up working in retail. While she did really well and was promoted a couple of times, it wasn't for her. She decided to retrain and did an apprenticeship with one of the wildlife trusts, but still wasn't successful in getting a job in her preferred field. Finally, she did a master's degree in entomology. Is that really bad? I don't know. Entomology. Entomology's words, isn't it? Yeah, entomology, whatever it is. And now is living her dream. There is definitely value in deferring university if you're not sure what you want to do. And Amjad says, I'm a taxi driver and I've picked up people working in bars and stacking shelf, working in Yodel who have degrees and can't find a job. Well, someone I went to school with has a degree from Cambridge University and still works in Cafe Nero. I don't say that disobligingly, but it wasn't their dream when they went to university to be a barista. What did they do? I think they did English. 0345 606. Entomologists are people who study insects as a career, as enthusiasts, or both. Wow, there we go. Entomology is insects. 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. We're having this sort of general conversation about universities, mainly because on the front page of the Sunday Times today, they are facing a fall in applications, universities this is, for the second time in a row, with fears that teachers are turning their backs on studying, teenagers are turning their backs on studying degrees. If you went to university, by the way, thank you very much everyone telling me insects, but we've had about 1,000 texts in. It's going to sort of repeat the system, insects. I get it now, I'm sorry. Did you go to university? What was your experience like? Do you feel like you used your degree afterwards? Do you think actually it was a bit of a waste of time? And if you didn't go to university, do you feel like you missed out in some way? Do you feel envious of people who did? Maybe you couldn't care less. That's great. 0345 6060 973. The time is 5:31. News headlines with Sinead Carroll.
The Prime Minister says the police have his full support to take action against extremists after overnight protests in towns and cities across the UK. Rioters and far-right protesters clashed with police, some officers were injured and dozens have been arrested. The UK's Foreign Secretary says British people in Lebanon should leave as soon as possible. The assassination of a Hamas leader in Iran overnight prompted the allied group Hezbollah to fire more rockets into Israel. A 9-year-old girl's in a life-threatening condition after being hit by a bus in southeast London. Her 5-year-old brother was also injured in Bexley Heath on Saturday morning. And Great Britain will be aiming for more medals in the 9th day of the Olympic Games in Paris. The men's 100-metre final is the headline act. LBC weather largely dry today, a bit more cloud with some outbreaks of rain in the northeast. Highs of 22 degrees.
Weekdays from 7 a.m. Why can't we get these people of whom you speak into those jobs? Straight to the point. You didn't do anything well, is what they might be thinking. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Why is he misrepresenting the truth? Listen on your radio and global player, LBC.
We all live different lives, which is why at Toyota, we have an electrified vehicle to suit everyone. Whether hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or all electric, at Toyota, every choice counts. Head down to your nearest centre or visit us online and choose yours.
You could be our next Win Plus winner. Enter now to win big cash prizes and loads more at winplus.co.uk. 18 plus, GB only, T's and C's apply.
It's our 50th birthday, and the one and only Double Big Mac is back at McDonald's. Hang on, I know the moves to this one. Make space! McDonald's 50th birthday! You're all invited!
Something unusual has been happening to the world's biggest iceberg. For months, it's been spinning on the spot just north of Antarctica. But rather than racing along the Earth's most powerful ocean current, our science correspondent Jonathan Ames has the details.
The iceberg known as A23A drifted beyond Antarctica in April. Its path took it into the great current that encircles the polar continent, the most powerful movement of water on Earth. This should have shot the berg up into the South Atlantic to disintegrate and melt away, but A23A went nowhere. For 4 months now, it's been an icy spinning top just going around and around close to the South Orkney Islands. Scientists say it's been caught in a fascinating ocean phenomenon called a Taylor column, a vortex of water that can form when a strong current moves past a mountainous region on the sea floor.
That's the news this morning. Now with the weather forecast, here's Sarah Keith Lucas again.
Thanks, Charles. Well, we've got low pressure that's sitting to the northwest of the UK today, so that's going to bring some wet and windy weather for parts of Northern Ireland and western Scotland. But elsewhere, we're looking at drier and brighter weather on the cards. So for all of southern England, Wales through the Midlands, eastern England, northeast England too, it is set to be a largely dry day. There'll be some sunshine around. Most of the sunshine towards the south and the east, a little bit cloudier, I think, the further north and west you are across the region. Fairly light winds too, and top temperatures ranging between 19 to 23, so certainly feeling quite a bit fresher than it has done of late, but pleasant enough in the sunny spells later. Into the northwest of England and for eastern Scotland, a lot of cloud here. It's going to be thick enough to produce a few spots of drizzle on and off through the day. Later into the evening hours, that's when the rain will become a little more persistent. Highs around about 18 or 19 degrees, and the breeze picking up later on as well. But for Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland and northern Scotland, we've already got some light patchy rain around. It's also quite breezy. The rain is going to become more intense through the day. The winds are going to pick up too. So we could see gusts up to about 45 miles an hour, along with that heavy rain setting in later on in the day. And then as we head through the course of tonight, what we're going to see rain and wind continuing for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Also the far north of England could see some wet weather, but elsewhere it is dry. It's going to be a mild night with lows between about 12 to 16. Tomorrow, more heavy rain for Northern Ireland and western Scotland. There could be some localised flooding, but it's looking warm and dry towards the south.
Sarah Keith Lucas. 5:36, we'll have a look at the newspapers now, and for a second day running, most of the front pages focus on the nationwide protests associated with far-right groups. The Sunday Telegraph reports that courts are preparing to sit overnight and at weekends to fast-track the sentencing of offenders. The paper says ministers, police chiefs and senior members of the judiciary met last night to discuss the emergency measures. Its editorial says while the government's plan to speed up justice will help to quell the current violence, its efforts will be futile if the current pressures on prisons means that Britain adopts a catch-and-release strategy. The former Armed Forces Minister John Speller tells the Sunday Express that the courts must back the police in making it unmistakably clear that the unrest must not continue, adding that stiff custodial sentences are needed. The paper also reports that the Home Secretary, Nicola Cooper, is preparing to call in the army if rioting continues because of concerns that police forces could become overwhelmed and exhausted. 4,000 extra riot police are on standby to deal with further disorder, according to the Sunday Times, which has spoken to the National Police Chiefs Council. One of its senior officers warns that if you've been involved in the rioting but haven't yet been arrested, your time will come. The UK is in the middle of a summer of discontent, according to the Mail on Sunday. The paper's editorial says the government's failure to grasp the dangers of its migration policies has created the circumstances in which dangerous internet rumors can spread and ignite. It says a general mistrust of the state has grown like an infestation of weeds. And the Observer reports that so-called anti-strike laws, introduced by the previous Conservative government, are due to be scrapped within days. The paper says departments have been told they should ignore the law, which aims to force the likes of border security workers and railway staff to provide a minimum level of service. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, tells the paper that the policy had succeeded only in poisoning industrial relations. In the Daily Mail, the former Tory party leader, Sir Ian Duncan Smith, describes the move as the beginning of radical change that will give power to the unions to strike at will. A brief look at some of Sunday's newspapers. Now sport, and 2 Caribbean island nations have won their first ever Olympic medals. Julian Alfred from St. Lucia sprinted her way to victory in the women's 100 metres final, and Dominica's Thea Lafond took the gold in the women's triple jump. For the roundup of another busy day at the Paris Games, here's Andy Barber.
20 more gold medals are at stake at the Paris Olympics today, including the men's 100 metres on the athletics track at the Stade de France. Daryl Neita agonisingly missed out on the podium with a 4th place finish, the best performance by Britain and the women's sprint event at the Games since 1960. The new champion is Julian Alfred from the tiny island of St. Lucia.
It feels amazing right now. With the emotions right now, still haven't really, it hasn't sunk in as yet.
Dominica's Thea Lafond took gold in the triple jump, bringing the Caribbean island its first ever Olympic medal. There was bronze for Britain in Saturday's athletics action in the 4x400 metres mixed relay final, finishing behind the Netherlands and the United States. Another 3rd place finish and a bronze for Britain came through gymnast Jake Jarman in the floor event. County Down's Rhys McGlenigan took the pommel horse title for Team Ireland, while Max Whitlock finished out of the medals in his goodbye to competition.
Of course, I would love to end better here in Paris, but it is what it is. The way that I'm feeling now, I think it's a reflection of my career. I'm so proud standing today. There's a challenge getting here, but I could have quit after Tokyo. I decided to come back, and I think giving it a good shot, giving yourself the opportunity is definitely the way forward rather than quit because of the fear of failure. So I'm proud to be here.
There were bronze medals for the windsurfer Emma Wilson, the equestrian dressage team, and for the women's 18 rowing, where the British men claimed gold. In the swimming, the American Katie Ledecky has the joint most golds by a female Olympian. Number 9 came in the women's 800 metres freestyle final, an event she's now managed to win at London, Rio, Tokyo, and now Paris.
I mean, the first one always, holds a special place in my heart, and I think I came in today knowing that it was August 3rd, 12 years ago. So I didn't want to make August 3rd a day that I didn't like, so I knew I had to get my head on the wall first tonight.
Well, Tommy Fleetwood on 13 under par in the men's golf is 1 shot behind the leader, the American Xander Schauffele, going into today's final round. And in the men's singles tennis, it's the final, and it's Djokovic against Alcaraz. Away from the Olympics, in football, West Ham United remain busy in the transfer market. They've agreed a fee worth £27 million to sign the Germany striker Niklas Füllkrug from Borussia Dortmund, and have also signed Leeds United attacker Crescencio Somerville for around £25 million. Meanwhile, the 2 games on the opening day of the Scottish Premiership, Rangers at Hearts and Motherwell against Ross County, both ended 0-0. Today's action includes Celtic starting their title defence at home to Kilmarnock.
And finally, a look back at some of the stories that were making news on this date in earlier years. It was Super Saturday at the 2012 London Olympics, when British athletes put in their best day at an Olympic Games for more than a century. Medals in the rowing and cycling were followed in the evening by golds for Jessica Ennis in the heptathlon, Greg Rutherford in the long jump, and finally Mo Farah in the 10,000 metres. Celebrations took place across the UK to mark the Queen Mother's 100th birthday on this day in 2000. In 1944, the wartime diarist Anne Frank and other people in hiding with her were discovered and arrested in Amsterdam, and an English army captured the French city of Calais on this day in 1347. The port was to remain in English hands for more than 200 years. And that brings us to the end of this morning's edition of News Briefing. The time is 5:43. And that means it's time for this week's Bells on Sunday, which comes from the Church of St John the Baptist, Midsummer Norton in Somerset. The three-stage church tower there dates from the 15th century, although the upper two stages, including the statue of King Charles II, are from 1674. At that time there were 8 bells, 3 of which are said to have been donated by King Charles. In 1976, the bells were augmented to a ring of 12, with a tenor bell weighing 21¼ hundredweight and tuned to the note of B flat. We hear them now ringing Bristol Surprise Maximus. St John the Baptist, Midsummer Norton in Somerset. This is BBC Radio 4, it's 5:45, and time now for In Touch with Peter White.
Hello. The world's most famous doll makes a rather shy new friend, 7-year-old Alora.
The skirt, it's different than all the Barbies. The eyes are different as well. And it has glasses on. Normally they don't have these glasses. But it's different because they have a cane.
So when you see a toy that's got a cane and got glasses and it's got things that you might have to use, how does that make you feel about using them when you're bigger?
Happy.
Later, we'll be examining the significance of disabled youngsters recognising themselves in the toys they play with. But first, more news on cuts at the RNIB. When we talked to Chief Executive Matt Stringer 3 weeks ago about where savings amounting to around £10 million could be made, and what the implications would be both for staff and the blind people who use those services, he told us
we're going to spend the next 6 months to the end of this calendar year to really work out what that sort of shape of the RNIB is going to look like going forwards, and then with a view to sort of implementing early in the new year of 2025. So, that's the programme, and within that we will, work out where the areas of cost saving look like, and, at the appropriate time we can talk to staff about any redundancies, but we haven't done that yet. It would be premature to talk to you about it because we just don't have the detail, and we'll get to that as we work through that 6-month timetable I just said.
But documents that we've seen suggest that, although not strictly part of the 10-year structure plan, one section of the RNIB, TfL, or Technology for Life, is already facing being disbanded, absorbed into the Sight Loss Advice Team, inevitably resulting in some redundancies. TfL was set up in 2018 to provide blind and partially sighted people with specialist advice and help with the very fast-moving developments in technology, which can be of enormous benefit to blind people, but which can also prove very challenging to master. As news of these plans has spread, it's resulted in many angry responses on social media, partly because people doubt whether the proposed changes will provide customers with as dedicated and well-informed a service as they receive at the moment, and partly because a high proportion of those working for Technology for Life as coordinators and line managers are themselves visually impaired, and redundancies among them seem unavoidable. Apparently, Technology for Life has been under review for the past 18 months, but the teams weren't aware of this. Well, some of you have been urging us to invite the RNIB's chief executive back to the programme to explain these plans. We have issued that invitation, but we've been told that they're unable to provide a spokesperson, as all information relating to any ongoing consultations is confidential. We have this statement from the RNIB instead.
All charities are facing challenges with the impact of inflation, which is leading to an increase in costs. While RNIB's income is stable, we've been using our reserves to support a planned deficit for this financial year, but this isn't a long-term solution. We plan to spend the next 6 months working on a new structure and ways of working to ensure RNIB is fit for the future. Alongside this transformation planning, there are some ongoing changes affecting some teams within RNIB, which sits outside of the transformation programme. This work has been ongoing for the past year and is now reaching the final stages. We're not able to share details about these changes until the work is fully complete. We recognise the concern these changes may mean for our staff and customers, and we'll be supporting them through this time of change.
Well, we will continue to press for answers to your questions and to explore what alternatives there might be for people struggling with their technology.
Hi Barbie. Hi Barbie. Hi Barbie. Hi Barbie. Hi Barbie.
Now, lots of excitement last week as the first blind Barbie doll made a glitzy and well-orchestrated tour of TV and radio studios in the warm embrace of model, influencer and broadcaster Lucy Edwards.
This is Barbie. She's currently waving. That's the audio description. She's holding a long white cane, and it has a marshmallow tip, very much like my own. Do you know how it feet? Well, there we go. But actually, I've been told that it's got a red tip, which is very American of her, because the American Foundation for the Blind consulted on that. But that's lovely. We just love diversity in the canes. She's wearing a little rah-rah skirt, which is gorgeous, and it's really easy to kind of get on and off. That's really important.
So it just slides off?
It just slides off, yeah. And I think also there's a really cool kind of contrast that if you're visually impaired, you can actually see, and the Velcro also at the back of the top. Just visible. There we go. It's just really gorgeous tactile clothing. She's got, actually, where are your glasses, Barbie? I was trying to chuck them on the floor, but she's got detachable glasses, and she's also amazing because her eye gaze is slightly upward to reflect all different eyesight conditions. Sometimes, you know, our eyes do that. I know my right eye fears a bit, and I love that about the way I look. So the most popular doll in the world now looks like me. Like, this is 2024 and it should have happened sooner, but it's so cool it's happening now.
Right, yeah, I mean, Mattel have been criticised in the past for not producing dolls which represent disabled children. Is this just a response to that criticism, do you think, and does it work?
I think it really works. You don't have to play with blind Barbie if you're blind. You know, you can have all sorts of disabilities or not have one at all. I think it's the culture that she has around her. And I think as a young girl, just being exposed to a long white cane that's detachable, like this can go onto any Barbie, and it is an accessory now. And I think I hated my long white cane. I didn't want to get it out. I hated just, you know, visibly being blind. And I think blind Barbie holding a cane is just super cool. I think when people see representations of blindness, it makes them more comfy, even if you aren't blind, to be exposed to it, because we're not told in our workplaces or in our education systems about blindness, are we? We're being counted by being a Barbie, I think.
Let me bring Debbie, who is Debbie Miller, Director of Customer Advice and Support at the RNIB. Do you know how much this is an issue? Because I suppose what I'm thinking is, aren't toys about fantasy? Rather than fantasy is about being someone else, not necessarily being yourself.
Toys do a number of things. Importantly, they help children learn through play. And I think what Blind Barbie does in representing a blind or partially sighted person is give visually impaired children an opportunity to interact and play with a toy that represents them. Also, their sighted friends you can play together and both be represented by Barbie dolls.
This is wanted and it's here to stay. It's just about adding to the line as well. Like, we need to see a guide dog, I think. Maybe Barbie can have like different wraps to her cane and match her handbags. Like, I think it's about exploring the different ways that people see the cane now and how we expand it.
I hope lots of other toy manufacturers take and follow Mattel's approach. As a parent with sight loss, it can be really difficult for me to find toys and games to play with my 3 children that work for them and work for me. So for all organisations to consider how someone might interact with a product with sight loss, I think is brilliant. I think Mattel can set up this.
Talking Rebecca Atkinson, who almost 10 years ago started the campaign Toy Like Me.
Toy Like Me was started when I had just got my first guide dog, actually, and I had 2 young kids. Al now was on with Lego and Playmobil and Barbie and all sorts, and I was tidying up their toys one day and I realised actually there's no representation of disability here in what is such a huge sort of cultural influencer on their lives. And it was really that made me think, oh, hang on a minute, where is the positive representation? So I went looking for it, and all I found was grey wheelchair figures and grandparent figures in hospital sets. And so it was then that we started making over Barbie dolls with pink hearing aids, giving Barbie dolls vitiligo, taking high-res images, and we put them online and they went viral. And I believe that which made the toy industry press pick up on this, and that therefore planted the seed into the minds of people like Mattel and Barbie.
That's what struck me about it, was that you wanted to have fun with the idea rather than kind of make it a preachy thing. Was that a very conscious idea on your part?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really interested in the history of representation of disabled people, and I think in the past what we found is before the internet came about, you very, very rarely saw any disabled people anywhere in the media. But the only place you ever saw visually impaired people was through the charity narrative. So it was on posters that were designed for charities to get money. So we were getting a very one-sided perception of what disability is all about. So I was really interested in what happens when you throw pink and glitter and colour that you find in the toy industry. What happens when you collide that with disability? What can that leap forwards and say something new about life with a disability?
How conscious do you think children really are about this? I'm talking about at this stage, blind children. I wasn't really conscious of this and didn't bother me. I don't think, unless I've completely forgotten it.
So children don't necessarily know what they want if they haven't experienced it. But what I see through my work at Toy Like Me, which is now an arts and play organisation, is we take disabled toys and we hold events with disabled children and their families. And the response that I see in the child when they see that, I call it the ping of recognition. Their eyes will light up and they get a moment of, wow, that's me. And it depends what your own relationship is with your disability. For some people, positive representation is very affirming because your self-esteem is formed around how the world around you responds to you. So if everybody is saying, oh bless, oh dear, oh then that child internalises that. And what you tend to see down the line is young people and adults with disabilities who are finding again a sense of shame or low self-esteem internally. So if you have consumer culture which is available to everyone everywhere, if consumer culture is actually including you and saying you're part of the wider consumer culture, then there is some power in that in terms of normalising your experience.
An important part of your argument, I think, is that these toys aren't just aimed at blind children or children with other disabilities, but directed at all children. Why? And what would attract a child without a disability, say, to Barbie with a white cane?
As part of my work over the last 10 years in this field, I've done work with Dr. Sian Jones, who's an academic at Queen Margaret in Edinburgh. She has found that by playing with disabled toys for just 3 minutes, non-disabled children's friendship intention towards their disabled peers improves. So essentially, by exposing a non-disabled child to a Barbie with a white cane for just 3 minutes, when they go on to meet a real child with a white cane, their friendship intentions and those attitudinal barriers will be removed. So this is not really just about disabled people wanting to be represented in the toy box. Maybe some don't, maybe some do. It's about a wider narrative of how do you remove attitudinal barriers towards disabled people by normalising it in the early years.
Rebecca Atkinson. And that's it for today. As always, we'd like to hear your comments and questions relating to what you've heard in the programme, or about anything else for that matter. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave us a voicemail on 0161 836 1338, or go to our website, bbc.co.uk/in-touch. From me, Peter White, and producer Beth Pennings. Goodbye.
And the phone number again to ask a question or leave a comment for In Touch is 0161 836 1338. The email is intouch, that's one word, at bbc.co.uk. Giles Fraser explores the relationship between wine and religion in Beyond Belief. After the news at 6, and a word about a new series which starts this week.
A Limelight drama on Radio 4.
11 minutes dead, yet here she is, my miracle.
A paranormal thriller.
I seem to have developed certain powers.
About life, death, and fate.
Who are you talking to? I'm going now, I'm going.
Get away from her! Leave her alone!
11 minutes dead.
You don't deserve the torture.
Friday afternoons at 2:15 on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
BBC News at 6 o'clock on Sunday the 4th of August. This is Charles Carroll. Good morning. Senior police have warned that more violent protests are expected in the coming days, and they say nearly 4,000 extra officers are ready to respond. Tensions have escalated since the killing of 3 young girls in Southport on Monday, when false rumours spread that the suspect was an asylum seeker. There were more than